Hey guys, so today's video is a little bit of diagnosis on this 2012 Chevy Sonic. I was gonna say RS, but hold on a second. It's turbo. It's not an RS, it's a LTZ turbo. 1.4 liter Ecotec. So, customer concern. A, check engine light. B, the Rad Fan is consistently turning at high speed and never turns off. And also, I scanned it, the system's not going in a closed loop. So I'm like, all right, well, let's see what codes it has. So it turns out there was maybe like 4 engine coolant temp related codes. I can list in the description exactly what codes it is, but this is, I think, a common issue for these cars. I don't know for sure, but I think I've dialed in what's wrong with it, and we're gonna fix that and verify that it fixes the issue. So on this vehicle, the first engine coolant temp sensor is right here. I'll try to point to it. It's this guy. This is the wire. Here's the connector. There's a little metal pin that holds the temp sensor into the side of this rad hose coolant nipple. I mean, trying to see, it's coolant housing. It's the coolant housing unit. So that's where the sensor is. But there's actually another sensor that's located down there on the thermostat housing. But the way I figured out that it was this one that is failing is I took my scanner, and let me show you what's going on here. So I pulled up live data for the engine coolant temp. If you see here, it says we're at 140 degrees. Well, the vehicle's been sitting here and it hasn't moved at all. It's fixed at exactly 140 degrees. So that sensor is not working properly. So what we're gonna do is just unplug it real quick. There's a little tab on it. You just push and it should come out. There we go. Unplugged, open circuit. If you look at my live data, my stream here, you see the wave pattern dropped off. And now the fixed number with the open circuit is -40, minus 40 degrees Celsius. So what that tells us is that sensor is faulty. It's stuck at 140 degrees. That being said, though, I will say, yeah, it's possible that there's a wiring issue. Okay, it's not likely, but it's definitely possible. It turns out the sensor was very cheap, very inexpensive. And I kind of did some research and found out that it's a common issue. So I didn't hesitate. I picked up a sensor and, you know, if it doesn't fix it, I'll return it. And then I'll have to get into some more diagnosis of the wiring. But we're just going to go ahead and change that and see what happens. So now where we're at. This is the pin. I use long needle nose pliers and you pull on it. I just want to let you guys know, though, if your coolant is hot, like it was in this one, yeah, it's under pressure and can burn you. So I took the pin out, and after you pull that pin out, the sensor is pretty much just loose in there, because this is the new one right here. That's how it has a seal on it, and you push it in and the clip goes around this lip and holds it in place and seals it with that. So now that this is just plugged in, I'm about to take the sensor out and make sure you put a pan underneath or something, because coolant is gonna piss out of that hole when you take the sensor out. So I'm gonna try to quickly take it out and put the new one in and not make too much of a mess. And then you'll have to bleed the coolant system. That's very important. So let's look at our data here. What is that showing us? Perfect. It's working. Right now it's where it's sitting, it's 24 degrees. That makes sense. So that means that that sensor was the failed part. So pretty straightforward. Now we just got to reinstall everything, clear the codes, bleed the coolant, and then we'll see how she runs. All right, so letting the coolant bleed right now. New sensors in. I got to bring the vehicle over to the hose and clean all the coolant off, make sure there's no leaks. Come over here. Go back to our live data. And she's working. Right now, you see she's coming up a bit. We're at 93 degrees Celsius. And yeah. So, it's working as it should. All we got to do now is clean up and go for a road test.